Press Silver Campaign Organization's Media Director Perry Chukwueze dies in boat mishap on page 2 with Reps OK inclusion there.
2023 poll, it's over as Tinubu remains. That's how the Nigerian Pilot puts that story. Supreme Court opposed president's election, dismisses PDP candidate, Atiku LP candidate Obi appeals. 63 million workers not on contributory pension scheme, CIPM, on page 6.
Leadership this Friday looks at Supreme Court verdict. Tinubu looks ahead. Wuz Atiku Obi, Apex Court has failed Nigerians. PDP laments. LP whips for judiciary, and that's the lead.
The People's Daily, troops killed 73 terrorists, arrest 182 in 1 week. Supreme Court judgment disappointing, laments PDP, says it is sad commentary for nation's democracy, accepts. Ohaneze Ndigo tells Obi. Okay, so
we have that Mama Boko Haram appeals for Dapchi girls to be released, but the Nigerian Express says Supreme Court opposed Tinubu's election, throws out Atiku Obi's petition. You also see that story. Mohbad didn't want Naira Marley, some liar to kill me more than amongst that. You see retirement, Pencom transfers all the retirements to NSTIF.
All right, this Nigeria will begin with the bottom page story, which says IPOB not a terrorist organization, prescription unconstitutional, and that is created to court, orders federal government, Southeast governors to pay 8 billion naira, apologize to Kanu. That's on page 14 of this Nigeria. And then close to the masthead there, you have alleged 3.4 billion forex fraud group condemns death threat on special investigator on page 5.
Nigerian News Direct, opposition cries foul as Supreme Court affirms Tinubu's election, and that's the lead. You also want to see Senate confirms Aliyu as ICPC chairman on page 2.
All right, Standard Times, Sanwo-Olu, Abiodun, Bago, others congratulate Tinubu as Supreme Court dismisses Atiku Obi's appeal. Supreme Court has done justice to all issues, says Tinubu. That's on page 2 of the Standard Times. How Uniport students allegedly kills lover for rituals in Port Harcourt.
Daily Asset looks at that the federal government releases 743 billion naira for capital expenditure in 6 months AGF, and then you also see Benue receives 10 million naira for 15-year lease and liaison office on page 7, amongst other stories.
Amid prohibition laws, domestic sexual violence thrive nationwide. Not interesting story there, but reported by the Guardian newspaper. Of course, it has a picture story there, also illustrating 70 to 80% of victims are under 15 years. No means no, it says. And then PIA Senate investigates non-implementation exit of IOCs.
This day, today looks at Supreme Court, just like most papers have. Tinubu's election as president is hereby affirmed. And let's also look at that story. Tedola doles out 750 million naira to 750 university students. But Senate confirming Aliyu as ICPC chairman also looks at that on page 4.
Wow. The Nigerian Tribune has this bold picture of the president. Congratulatory message to the president on your Supreme Court victory. Okay, we have Tinubu victorious, says Supreme Court did justice on merits of law. Court dismisses Atiku Obi's appeals on page 12.
Daily Trust still looks at that advertorial, but let's look at the lead there. Supreme Court opposed Tinubu's election, dismisses Atiku Obi's appeal. Let's build Nigeria together. President, judgment disappointing PDP. We are shocked, but we move on. LP, wait till 2020-31. APC tells Atiku Obi.
All right, the blueprint now. Tinubu to Atiku Obi, others with Supreme Court victory. Let's build our country together. That's on page 6. 63 million Nigerian workers yet to enroll with Pencom Chartered Institute. Speaking there on page 19 of the paper.
New Telegraph still looks at the presidential poll, but let's look at that insecurity story. Soldiers arrest terrorist arms, suppliers recover weapons in Kaduna. Ethiopian Airlines, why federal government invited us to form Nigeria Air, and that's on page 8 with political crises. Ayetodiwa begs Akeredolu, and that's on page 4 as well. But that's the thing, that's where we'll start to get our reviewers' insight here. A lot of the papers, of course, we know are leading with the outcome of the Supreme Court verdict. And some are getting knocks, some are giving, very happy, and as well says it's an affirmation of the victory at the polls as well. But let me start with you, Chukwusekun. You see the authority there. Knox praises Trail Supreme Court judgment. Justice has been done. Tinubu, no judgment murdered democracy, and that's coming from LP, PDP, as well as that or the lead above the masthead.
Maybe we should start with our friend, our colleague, who lost his life a few days ago, I think a fortnight, 2 days ago, Perry Tukewe. He used to anchor this program, and then he moved on to become media campaign director for the Team Preseva governorship election in Bayelsa State. And it's particularly saddening that Perry died on the day that the INEC released its list of candidates for Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo elections. If you recall, INEC, the space where INEC was supposed to list the Bayelsa State Guba candidate, it said court order. So it's very painful that Perry had to die the way he did. And we pray God to grant his family the fortitude to bear this loss, and may God rest his soul. That said, let's move on to this story of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Of course, yesterday marked 171 days since the PDP and the LP candidates filed their petitions. So the process took 171 days to come to an end. And a predicted end. Because if you recall, I think Ezocha, you and I were here the day after the tribunal delivered this judgment, and we were both unanimous in saying that there was no point going to the Supreme Court, because unless the laws are amended, because if you took your time to read what the judges say, the courts are not Father Christmas, and sometimes I also wonder why some of these lawyers don't they know some of these things. Because, as presenters, you all know when to present, how to talk, and how the cameramen, how to pan their camera and stuff. Because if you took your time to read, and I did, what the judges said yesterday, what they basically said was that the parties did not file their petitions within the time frame allowed for it to be filed. What they basically did was to hinge their decision on technicalities. They didn't talk about if it was right or wrong, if Tinubu forged certificate or not, but they said that you cannot go to trial, then at appeal, you now say, okay, excuse me, my lord, I forgot something, I want to introduce this. That was basically what the Supreme Court did yesterday, and whether we like it or not, that's the law. It's no matter how pained we are, because there must be those who feel pain, and there must be those who feel that they've gained from that. It brings to an end, this tortuous journey of election petitions. And we've always canvassed here that, we should amend our laws so that these 171 days should happen before, 180 days should happen before incumbents are sworn in. Because if you recall yesterday, President Tinubu made light of, he joked about the outcome of the judgment when some of his aides came. He said, now your appointments are now confirmed. You can now go about, because
the job is secured.
Exactly. He said the job is secured. And like I was discussing backstage with Dr. Ada, you remember what dollar was a few days ago, and what happened immediately after judgment,
I was going to tell Nicole about it.
Yes, the dollar crashed. So it shows that, that the country has been in a lot of suspense. People have been saying, will Tinubu go, will Tinubu not go? And this does not augur well for our democracy, because even across the states, the same thing, states where persons at the tribunal, contractors can't do anything. People who have projects cannot do it because they're looking over their shoulders. Enugu, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Ogun, and some of the states. It's very important for us to amend our law so that when a man is declared governor, everything surrounding his election, is dispensed of, particularly judicial process is dispensed of before swearing in, so that we don't waste so much money. Look at what happened in Bayelsa about 4 years ago when David Lyon was to be sworn in. The state government has spent so much money preparing for the elections only for David Lyon to be stopped on the eve of his inauguration. So it's very important, And I saw something happen yesterday. We saw the governor of Bayelsa State, he ruffled a lot of feathers, political feathers, when he appeared to annihilate the president. But, the truth is, that's the reality. President Tinubu is governor, and before now, we didn't see Governor Diri going to associate with President Bola Tinubu, but as a realist, because it's reality. The reality is done, whether we like it or not, for the next 4 years, Tinubu is president. So it's also good that Governor Diri went to congratulate him. It shows that there's no bitterness. It's a contest. In every contest, there must be a winner. And
I didn't see the president smiling at him, though.
No, good. And I like the way the president, joked about, because, it's very rare to see such video footages, but we saw that yesterday, and we saw the atmosphere in the villa, very, very beautiful.
The jobs are secure,
yes.
All right, so, let's see how you weigh in on this particular one before we move on to another interesting story that made the papers today. IPOB, not a terrorist organization, a prescription unconstitutional, according to court.
Yeah, the little I have to say on that is, like he said, the day after the tribunal made their judgment, I came out openly advised that Obi and Atiku should not go to appeal. They shouldn't go to the Supreme Court because the system will also give them what they got at the tribunal because we are talking of judgment. Did they get judgment or did they get justice? The point here is we should try as a country to change the system. I still maintain that while I congratulate President Bola Tinubu and his team and his job secured aids, it's normal. He has won the election. The litigation has gotten up to the Supreme Court, and they have given him they have given him justice. But I still maintain, I still stand on my earlier position that there is no way opposition can get justice when a declared winner is inaugurated. I have said it here that if you look at the Supreme Court judges or the tribunal judges, who pays them their salaries? The CJN, who services his office. You see, the law has made it to be so. The law has given this type of judgment that the president got. The politicians got. We must strive to make the necessary changes, the necessary reforms. I still look at what happened in Kenya between William Ruto and Odinga. A declaration was made by the country's electoral body. Odinga said no. He went, he petitioned. It took the Kenyan judiciary 7 days, just 1 week, to make that, to settle that. And Ruto was sworn in. If you swear in a president or a governor, rightly or wrongly, and he has a case at the tribunal, he is already sitting on a state's or a country's affairs, resources, treasury. I doubt how he will let that slip off him. It's not possible. So the system must be changed. If a person is declared and losers feel aggrieved and challenges it, let the litigation be settled. Let the court settle it before any inauguration. Because I don't know how any Nigerian would have dreamt that Obi or Tinubu would be declared president by the tribunal. It's not possible.
So is it time for Nigerians to really be upbeat and get on to push for these reforms to be done immediately?
We must push for reform. If we don't push for reforms, this thing will continue. Obasanjo was challenged by, Olufalaye, yes, in 1999. What Tinubu got today was what Obasanjo got. Yar'Adua was challenged by Buhari. What Tinubu got yesterday was what Yar'Adua got. Jonathan was challenged by Buhari. What Jonathan got was what Tinubu got. Buhari was not challenged. It was only Buhari's 2015 election that a sitting president called him and congratulated him. And you now want Tinubu to relinquish a seat that he has already been sworn in, he's occupying. Within the 6 months or 5 months of this thing, he has appointed his ministers, his SAs, DGs of MDAs, and you want them to go? It's not possible.
But beyond the fact that it has not been happening before, the fact of the statements that is coming out from the judges and how they are basing, their judgment is also something we should look at, because you hear that it was difficult for.
That is why we are saying that last week, the chief judge of FCT made a very pronounced statement that Nigeria the country will turn to a state of anarchy when the confidence is lost in the judiciary. And we analyze it here that is that same judiciary that will return that confidence or lose it. But the truth here is that
the point I'm making
is judiciary needs to be reformed too.
Okay.
It needs to be.
No, the point I'm making is what Chuk said earlier. That for lawyers to know that these are some of the issues that you have to deal with, before going to a tribunal.
I'm sorry.
And get all your evidences together.
I'm sorry. Aside that, there are also lessons to be learned from this February elections. You see, let's not pretend that we assume that Peter Obi or Atiku was going to win. Because I'll give us an example. Look at what happened in Plateau State, where Muftwang won the governorship in Plateau State. If you recall, Labour Party was very strong at the presidential elections in Plateau State. But Muftwang was able to appeal to Labour Party. So they were able to say, okay, let us join forces and fight the APC. And that was how he became governor of Plateau State. Look at what happened in Kaduna State. Jonathan Asake was Labour Party candidate in Kaduna State. People appealed to Asake, okay, let us fight APC first. When we get that, then we'll know what to do. Asake said no. So Asake went the way of Labour Party. Actually went the way of PDP. And if you recall, almost every member of Labour Party belonged to PDP. That's the truth. Because if you recall, since 1999, we had AD and we had three political parties at the time, major political, three parties, AD, then APP and PDP. The PDP won the presidential elections in 1999. Mm-hmm. Then in 2003, ABGA joined the fray. Still, PDP won, like we all know. So from 2007, AD, metamorphosed to ACN, and of course, APP went to become ANPP and several mergers. But they tried to go their separate ways to win the presidency. It didn't work out. Tinubu fielded, Tinubu made sure Nuhu Ribadu emerged candidate. Atiku emerged candidate, but they couldn't win. So what did they do? They said, okay, let us come together. Buhari went the CPC where he couldn't win. So let us form a merger and that was how they formed the APC. And they won because Buhari had been winning a particular section of the country, but that wasn't something. He couldn't break into other parts of the country. What happened in February was that the PDP allowed an implosion to happen. So then Peter Obi went to join Labour because don't forget that Peter Obi was Atiku's running mate in 2019. Mm-hmm. So there's what Igbos call Igwebike. There's unity. There's strength in unity. So what PDP or what Labour Party should do is to go back to drawing board and say, okay, can we do this all by ourselves? Because if you ask yourself, Peter Obi was challenging Tinubu, he wasn't challenging Atiku. So who was the Supreme Court going to declare president, Atiku or Peter Obi? Because there were three appeals, there were three petitions. I mean, there were two petitions. Peter Obi was challenging Tinubu, Atiku was challenging Tinubu. So who amongst them was the tribunal going to say won the election? Peter Obi or Atiku?
All right, gentlemen, let's move on.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, she raised the issue of the IPOB conscription from the court, saying that it's not illegal. So how do you look at that?
I want to believe that, like President Bola Tinubu said yesterday, that
it's a new Nigeria.
It's a new Nigeria. The journey to a new Nigeria has started. As far as the shenanigans at the court has settled down, I think the president should now concentrate on governance, and governance that will touch the people. Because with what we are seeing now, we just said here that the dollar has crashed. We hope it will not be temporary also, because this is not the first time they are taking such measures, and when it goes up, it shoots above limit again. And if you look at the judgment yesterday, we have been calling on President Bola Tinubu here not to tow the way of former President Buhari by making sure that peace returns in every part of the country. And I think the court judgment yesterday that dwelt on IPOB should also be added to the demand by Nigerians, Ohanes and Igbo, prominent Nigerians, that Nnamdi Kanu should be released, especially at this period that the Southeast has continued to boil. You and I know that have seen it, that there is war in the Southeast, and if the president should help the Southeast people to stop this war, let him start with the release of Nnamdi Kanu. We are saying this because he's a listening president, and let him do the needful. Let him listen to the voice of and releasing Nnamdi Kanu. Then when you release Nnamdi Kanu and the killing, the war or something continues, we now say, why? This is your agitation. It has been granted. Why are you still on this? If actually the war is coming from East IPOB, as claimed in some quarters, because I am also of the opinion that a thorough investigation, a thorough interrogation should be carried out in the Southeast to find out exactly who are the people behind this. But with the court ruling yesterday, I think it is a step that could bring back peace in the Southeast.
Exactly.
Especially now with this court information and the president.
Yes, and I like what President Bola Tinubu said yesterday. It's the hope of Nigerians that he walks the talk. He's talking about becoming president of the whole of Nigeria without bias to one race or religion. So, and we all know that Tinubu, former President Buhari had this hatred for the Southeast because, the Bible says that from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We've had former President Buhari as president. We've had several freedom slips by Buhari. Even when youth corpers came to Daura to visit him, we heard what he told youth corpers, bewildered youth corpers that they should go and tell their brother Nnamdi Kanu and stuff. So we all know how biased, how bigoted Buhari was, and I want to believe that Tinubu is a different person. What Sunday Igboho has been released in Benin Republic, whatever political solution they used to release Sunday Igboho in Benin Republic, what is good for the goose, they say is good for the gander. They should also, exploit that political solution and release Nnamdi Kanu, obey the courts. Because the court, just like Tinubu was celebrating yesterday, and APC was celebrating that the courts have affirmed him, the courts have also said Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer. And even went ahead to award how many? 8 billion? 8 billion naira, 8 billion, 5 billion, against the government. Like Ezocha said, it's very, very important for President Tinubu and security chiefs to interrogate what is really going on in the Southeast. There are one or two persons I will not want to mention here who we all know who we all know is responsible for this crisis in the Southeast. And for political, the persons are politicians, and they're doing this because of political reasons in the Southeast. For their personal political gains, they're trying to set the Southeast on fire so that they will keep benefiting from the South. And, I used to say, I said this and I will say it. I'm from Anambra State. We used to mock people from Imo State. I'm sorry, we used to, if you wanted people who loved life, who are easygoing, life loving. Owerri used to be the capital of nightlife in the Southeast, or in the whole of the southern Nigeria. I mean,
hospitality business.
Yes, apart from Lagos. If you wanted, people used to travel from all over the world to come to Owerri to enjoy. So how come suddenly Imo State has become a cauldron of violence? How come Imo State has suddenly become, there's what the Yoruba said. Yoruba said, "Odore akai lakara degun." Akara is usually soft. Then people, you eat akara. Then it gets to the turn of the person who has no teeth. Then akara becomes bone. So there's more to it. You understand? So how come this same Imo? We've had governors from time of Mbakwe. All the governors. How come it's the turn of a particular governor that Imo State has suddenly become a theater of a killing field?
There is still life. There is still life.
There is still life.
If you go to Igbo, you will still know that there is still life. But what we are saying is that the killings we are talking about.
Things seem to be coming down now.
Yes,
really.
what we are saying is that peace should return to the whole of the Southeast, not only
Imo State.
Imo is the fulcrum.
Okay, gentlemen, let's get back to the stories we have on the front pages. Really, boys, it's interesting we talk about that because all the stories are actually weaving together. And we do hope that with the victory of the president, now that he will be
he has settled down now. Yes, everything is secured.
He will look in
appointment secured, presidency secured. I think the president should now face governance.
Yes.
There will be no distraction any longer.
And no excuses.
And we also know the situation of the country. So let him settle down and set this country to roll.
All right. I'm interested in this story. 63 million workers not on contributory pension scheme, and then some that are captured on the contributory pension scheme do not have their pension contributions remitted. I have a friend who works with a corporate organization who says even her own, anytime they pay salary, our own is not being remitted, and then some are not captured. How do we deal with this kind
I
of
even have a
situation?
case of somebody who's been bothering me. He used to be a staff of the Federal College of Education, Omoko, where after several years their contributory pension scheme is not captured. And when he raised the alarm, he even said he petitioned the IG, petitioned EFCC, petitioned everybody. But apparently there's a cartel. They take these monies because you see, it's like if you take 1,000 naira from each worker, from say 10 million workers, you take 100 naira, that's 100 million naira. So it's a cartel which we needed to investigate, to interrogate, who they exploit workers, because workers are supposed to contribute so that when they leave service, when they
have
retire,
something to fall back to.
Exactly. It happened to my mom. My mom suffered the same fate. Then it used to be national. There's this fund. There's this national something fund. At the time they didn't have this pension fund. So you contribute all over the years. Then when she retired, what they put for her was 2,100 naira or something.
She got now?
Yes.
There are many that they don't get. I think this pension thing should be optional, considering the fact that it has become a scam. There are so many civil servants that have retired and
they get access to
their pension is
a problem.
So it should be optional. You can't be collecting their money.
I've also seen people who are able to access their own.
It's not. But if you cannot give somebody his or
all right, gentlemen,
let
I
the
have
person
to
decide whether he will contribute
or not. Let's take that as a cue to any chair, because I'm sure that the authorities in charge would also want to see whether that will work or not. And when people say they want to do a voluntary pension scheme, perhaps it has to go through a policy redirection of some sort. But thank you so much, Ezra Chanze and Chuks Akunna, for being with us, and thank you for pouring your heart out on the situation and candid departure of Barry.
Thank you.